Welcome to Feisty Chess. I've got black playing against e4 here. Let's do Alekine's defense tonight. Easy as 1, 2, 3 is our opponent. Okay, we're going into main lines here. I'm getting a lot of knight c3 instead of e5 on that move. Okay. I think against this move order, I want to do c5. But d6, no, d6 is the move. D6 is the move. I've gotten in trouble here before against d4 or c4 because they'll often transpose, but either one you want to do d6. It's always the key move in the Alekhine. Okay, this is a fun line, assuming I'll take with the f-pawn. And I keep pressure on the center. Okay, that's the right move. If the knight comes, I just pin it. But instead, I'm going to get my bishop out this way. And there are some sacrificial ideas in this line, in the chessable course I took. My next move will be e6. And then if a knight comes here, my plan is to pin it with bishop b4. All right, comfortable in the opening. I've been playing a lot of 10-0 recently, so hopefully that's getting me better at not getting in time trouble. Without increment, it really punishes you for getting in any kind of time trouble, of course. So 10-0. Yeah, so this is 10 with 5-second increment. So I'm still above 10 minutes on my clock here. I've got a little time edge already. That's nice. It's also a nice thing about playing an opening like the Alekhines. Okay, that's a good move. He was probably worried about like knight to b4, threatening a knight here. If I take, after queen recaptures, the pawn will be pinned. But I should either take or drop back here, or maybe now's the time to pin the knight. Pinning the knight could lead him... Okay, I gotta make a decision. I'm going to take. And then we'll go bishop e7 to stop any incursions on g5. Actually, if knight g5 there, I had knight takes knight takes d5. e5. e5. Okay, I got yoga brain. I got back from doing some yoga. Now, do I want to castle kingside here? Yes. He's got all this build up over towards the queen side. My knights can get kicked around and he can advance on my king with tempo. So I'm a little cramped, wondering what the plan is here. f6 looks kind of extreme. What is the plan? We'll start with h6. Just really don't want a piece coming into g5. Gives my king a little left in the future. Ooh, white can push d5 here. That's the threat. This is why bishop b4 maybe was better. Maybe I should have played bishop b4 check. White will probably push d5. Okay, that's coming anyway. Okay, I've got a wacky plan here. Move my knight from the line of fire, and then I'll get c6 in. Does that really prevent d5, though? And maybe this knight gets rerouted. Once it gets kicked, it goes here and then there. c7. Well, it's got no other place to go here. Okay. Now's the time if white wants to play d5. He can do it because he can get rid of my defender. So if we just went like this, push, takes with the knight, takes, then I just want a pawn. Although he might be able to get that pawn. Probably not, since I can play knight c7 to support it. But the way it works, and the way white can make it work, is push, takes, bishop takes knight, and... ooh, no, because I'm recapturing with check. And then that gives me a turn to maybe take this pawn or something. Okay, he's putting more defense on c4. He wants to go to knight e4 probably, but he could have done that with this other knight. Maybe he's just wanting to open up his rook. Well, let's get this knight back in the game. Knight c7. Now I've got d5 pretty well stopped. And this d4 pawn might be a weakness. One plan might be to go to c5. And after the knight moves, jump a knight in here. Now it's supported by two pawns. It'd be a pretty strong knight, and that pawn is not nearly as backward with that knight on here. Okay, now he's making a threat. I think the king wants to be on h8, and I'm getting a little leery about my king here. Yeah, let's put him on h8, and if the queen tries to go to the h file to threaten this bishop sack, then I've got king h7, and there's no checks wherever he goes, so he can only check from this square. If he's on h5, he can't check from that square, and he can't check there. So I think h8's the right place for him now. Now my rook is stuck to the defense of this pawn is a problem. Might try to simplify here with bishop g5. It'll double that pawn. But I like my chances as the position simplifies because he's got this backwards weakness. And I don't have any weaknesses. Except for possibly my king right now, but, you know, that's not a weakness, is it? Problem is, he's moved both of his knights. Both of his knights are hanging out on the queen side. He's got... okay. Now, we go with this plan. Oh, the problem is... Oh, I should have played king g8 there. Ugh. I went way too fast. He's going to win a pawn. Hey, my knight on c7 actually guards this weak pawn, at least. Oh, I don't like this. Don't like it at all. I think I have to simplify. His attack is too big. I do have a time edge, but I'm down a pawn. This doesn't even force the queen trade, actually. If I wanted to force the queen trade, I should have gone here. No. Okay, but now he's letting me trade queens. And here's the plan. Going to bring this rook here, and then that bishop will go to d7. Well, maybe just go king g8. He can't keep that rook there. King g6 maybe? A little more active. A lot of trouble my king can get into up there, though. I didn't want to play bishop e8 with my rook still on a8, of course. I suppose I could have gone, no, the bishop is pinned. You can't move because of that poor defenseless knight on c7 now. Okay, fortunately his other pieces are pretty inactive at the moment. And if he wants to move that knight, I'll be snagging up a pawn. Okay, he's coming at me like that. Now, should I go king g6? That seems... That's too much. There's too many pieces left on the board to try that kind of nonsense. So let's see where the rook wants to go. I probably want to keep rooks on the board, you'd think. Probably the rook goes to f3. Okay, now it's time for a5. Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. The bishop looks at the knight, and then he pushes d5. So a5 is not so good. This knight needs to go someplace. Looks like d7 is the best way forward for this knight. He can go through f8, g6, somewhere. Maybe even h7. Okay, I've still got a lid on d5. I've got enough defense against that he can't just take that. He does have tactics on a7 now. But that's going to be a wash. So if he pushes d5, things kind of burn out in the center. Oof. Okay. I'll go knight a5 unless I go b6. So let's go b6. I suppose bishop b4 would have been good there. That would have done the same job. Now where's he headed? Ooh. I like the look of this. This undermines e5. Yeah, this looks good. This looks quite good. I might be winning my pawn back. Okay, I'm not. Trading pawns is good when you're down material like this, though. I can't get another attacker on e5, and he's got 2 defenders anyway. Let's see if we can get him to take with the knight. I play bishop here. He takes with the knight. I take with the pawn. Then his bishop has to run from the defense. And then I can grab this with a tempo on his rook. So it's a little bit of a trap. I don't think it's a bad move. My bishop may be a better piece than my knights right now, but okay, we've done it. Now his bishop has to remove himself from the defense of that pawn, and then I'll grab this pawn. And maybe this one. The rook has to go here to defend that pawn. If he goes there, knight d3 solves all my problems. And I might be better here because I've got the pass pawn. And his pawn is backward, and it's hard to see how he makes a passer without sacrificing another pawn of his own. Okay, I like this. Nice thing about this is it defends c5 while it attacks both these. So I'll get the bishop, and my pawn will no longer be under attack. So we've equalized the ending. My knight is still worse than his. Should I play a4, a5, and clamp down on that backwards, that weakness? Or maybe I just go after the weakness right now. My knight at least guards this pawn. So yeah, let's try this. I think we're in the driver's seat here. Okay. Well met. I can defend this and get my king in the game. And we've got a rook ending. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Do I have to get defensive with my rook here? I think I might, but I don't think it'll last forever. Okay, if he moves the rook to h5, I'll just play... Oh, now he can defend. Okay. Okay, be that way. But I think I have more moves than you. I am the only one with a pass pawn here. This is... Not sure g5. That was a pretty committal move. Okay, he's going right for this. But I don't have to do anything about that. Okay, I can just wait. His rook is so trapped. Eventually his king, he'll run out of pawn moves. Or he'll have to sacrifice, say, this pawn by going b4. Because his king has no moves that maintain protection of that rook. Wow, this is quite neat, actually. A rook trapped in the center of the board. Okay, you use another pawn move. You've only got so many. Yep, I'm going to keep waiting, and you got to play b4 now. I'm not sure he's improved anything by getting these pawns up here. Maybe. Oh. You're going to make one more move. He's going to draw it out. He can't chase it with his king. Actually, do I have a winning ending right here? Take? I do. I do. Rook takes c4. Let's just make sure. We've got a little time. Rook takes c4. King takes. King takes. Now he's got to go after this pawn first. And then I come here. Yeah, and there's no, and that's just a winning king ending. So here goes. Yeah, there was no choice there. And I want to go king d5 or d4. d5 seems more flexible. If he goes to a4, I'll just go immediately king to c5. And he can take my pawn, but I'll get his. And in the meantime, my pawn's just going to run. Okay, yeah, and white realized he was lost. Oh, that was kind of neat. One of my chess heroes is Anatoly Karpov, and that was a very Karpovian way to win. That endgame theme. I've studied a lot of Karpov's endgames, and he frequently came up with creative plans to win in the ending, and that, I got to admit, it was kind of inadvertent. I did play g5 to limit the rook's mobility, but I didn't see that it was such a zugzwang for white. It's really amazing. This is, frankly, one of the most interesting endings I've ever played. Yeah. I wonder what the computer says. I'm really curious. At this point, right here, is white just lost? Can the computer see this far in an ending? It's often not that good. It likes white. Let's see what it does. It goes down 0.7, 0.5, 0.3. It's probably going to switch. It's probably going to switch over. Yeah, it likes g5 for black. But once I play g5, now black is just winning. But here it says 0.3. I don't know. I don't write the code here. I just work here. So, wow. Look at that eval. Look at that gray stripe go up and down. And it even sees the line. It sees g5, but it must just not be set. It must need that 23rd ply, because it's on 22 ply right now for calculation. Anyway, this is amazing. g5, and the king can't make any moves that actually protect the rook. So it's just a waiting game. I have this one waiting move I can make, and white doesn't have any. So super powerful illustration of Zugzwang in the ending. Now it says c5 is necessary. c5, and then just run b3. The king has to go here, and now rook check. Oh, and the king has to go right back to hang on to the rook. But if he does that, oh, the pawn promotes. It's even juicier than I thought. This is so rich. Rooks do not belong trapped in the center of the board, but you don't frequently see that. So yeah, it reminds me of a Karpov ending where he managed to trap a rook, and his opponent couldn't do anything about it. It was kind of in the center of the board. I think that involved a bishop or knight or some minor piece. But wow, this is one I'll want to remember. This is why I'm such a big fan of endings. Like, just the most basic tactic of, like, you have to move, the Zugzwang tactic. You would rather sit still. White would rather just sit right here. Any move he makes just loses. But if he can just sit still, he's fine. But he can't. So the tactic of Zugzwang, simplest tactic in the book. It likes rook d8 check here, but this is way simpler. When I see a winning king and pawn ending, I simply go for it. So to play this out, if he tries to go for my a pawn, I don't even have to respond right away. I can just start pushing this pawn. And then if he does this, I just slide over. And as soon as he captures my a pawn, I capture his b pawn. And if he pushes, he just loses another pawn. So yeah, my king is in way better position, and I've got the passer. So all right, let's look from the beginning here. I don't think I played this quite right. I'm still kind of working things out in the Alekine's defense. This is all book stuff. Well, the computer likes bishop f5 here, but the line I know is d takes, and then knight c6. One of the ideas here is he can't push immediately because then his e5 pawn falls. Bishop e3 is the book move. White does a little better with that, as you can see. After knight f3, bishop g4. That's this classic Alekhine pin where the center is under attack, and this bishop really helps to put pressure on those pawns. And if he tries bishop e2 to break the pin, well, I just capture. And now if he takes here, I just grab this pawn. Still likes white, somehow. Queen a4. Oh, because he's got bishop. Okay. Well, it's still complicated, apparently. But a lot of players see that and they'll just play here, taking with the f pawn, with the g pawn, which I'm not sure is all that bad. They got to watch out for this diagonal. And after e6, that could be a problem. But you could just play h4. I don't know. It's maybe you go bishop e3 here as white, and then bishop f2 keeps those checks away. Anyway, the line in the game was bishop e3. Now bishop f5 is the main move. Knight c3 is the usual move. Knight f3. Black does a lot better here, so e6. Knight b4 immediately. Knight b4. A nice thing about this knight on b6 is he guards against these check forks with the queen. And now you got to go knight a3. I've played a game like this before. It didn't work out all that well for me. But the knight, now that he's played knight a3, the knight can't be kicked. Computer says that's about equal. But I went with, white went with knight f3. Now e6. Okay. Bishop d3. Is this a mistake? Apparently. Apparently I've got knight d4 immediately. Yeah, because he doesn't have any checks, and he's just blocked things. And if he tries to take this, well, I've got a couple things. I can just take with the knight. Or I can take here with check. That doesn't work out quite so well. I don't keep my pawn that way. If he takes here, wait a minute, what kind of sorcery is this? Knight takes d4. Knight takes. Bishop takes d3. You rely on this pin, but you wait. Interesting. Yeah, and there's nothing white can do to get that. Well, no, he's defending everything. I am bewildered right now. Bishop takes d4. Oh. Is the computer on the fritz or what? It says here, knight, let's see this. Knight, this can't be right. There's too much defense on d4. This just adds more defense to d4. Oh, c5. Did I say bishop c5? It's so obvious. So we've gained a pawn. Probably lose that pawn back. But we simplified things quite a bit. And that's good for black, generally, in the Alekhine defense. And the black has a good end game out of the Alekhines, most of the time. But I went for the trade immediately. Thinking I have less space, I'm going to trade pieces. This helps him develop his queen. It puts a pin here I thought I could exploit, but I never did. It likes knight a5 here, doubling up on this pawn. And then b3. And then c5. Okay, that's how you exploit the pin. So knight c3, and then we just take. And white doesn't have a huge center anymore. Whoa. Got real dark in here. All right, I better accelerate this a bit. Take. Ooh, bishop e7 was not the move here. After knight c3, it really likes white. Huh. Yeah, I don't have much of an active plan here. My plan was really just to prevent some stuff. Ooh, that was a mistake too. Wow, it really likes white. It still really likes white, like a whole piece worth. It wants me to go bishop g5 here. I probably should have. I didn't consider that. That could simplify. But even then, yeah, bishop takes, and then queen takes, and all that simplification. We got that sort of weak g-pawn on g5. Yeah, there's no defending it. They're just losing a pawn in an endgame. But hey, that's what happened to me anyway, and I survived. I like queen h5 here rather than what white did. Yeah, the computer does too. Look at that, four pawn advantage. Now rook f1 is coming just to chase away my queen anyway. Okay, I have this. Oops, I gotta finish up. My battery's running low. Anyway, allowed to trade queens. Took a lot of the pressure off myself, but usually don't want to trade queens when you're down a pawn, but there was such a big attack. I thought I had to take my chances in an ending, and this is the trick, the key turning point. I got him to take my bishop with his knight. Some people do that just because they think knights are worse than bishops. But here, the bishop pair is gone. And this just tactically loses that pawn. Anyway, so... yeah, and he wants to defend that pawn. But that, like I said, solves all my problems. I'm not sure I played this all that well. Ooh, that wasn't that good of a move. Knight a6. Yeah, I thought about this, hoping for greener pastures for this knight, say on b4. And also defend c5. I didn't see knight b5, I gotta be honest. But I figured I'm at least drawing this ending. I'm looking kind of passive here. And yeah, it turns out the only way he has to defend his rook... he needs to move that rook away now, either h5 or e4. But that would allow me to kind of free up my rook. Rook h5. Now it says rook h5 is the way to go. King g6. And if he wants to come back to d4, I'll just repeat. So, oh, but he can go g4. Okay. Well, that's an interesting idea. But this is honestly hard to see coming. I probably would have played king up too. It's very intuitive. King to e4, you centralize your king, you protect your rook. But now this rook has nothing. We see this fantastic Zugzwang ending. Yeah, and that's the game. All right, I got to cut this one short. But thanks for watching, and stay feisty.